Many of you recently may have seen that I switched over from the iPhone to the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6, and I've had a great experience with that phone. I am very nitpicky, so I've had some problems here and there, and I made a full video on that. If you want to go check that out, there'll be a link down below. But today I'm going to talk about my experience using the S24FE. I personally feel like it will just appeal to more people because of the price range and the normal form factor of the phone. And that phone is essentially Samsung taking the S24 and cutting some corners to get that price point down. In terms of the design and the build quality, the S24FE comes with an aluminum frame with tapering. So it's sharp on the front edge, but rounded on the back. So when you're holding it in your hand, it is nice and comfortable, although it can still be sharp if you grip the phone tight. Personally, I wish Samsung had gone for a more uniform rounded design on both sides. But overall, it's not much of a problem, and in terms of weight, this phone is actually very lightweight. It weighs in at 213 grams, but despite that, it still feels fairly premium in the hand. Just a small nitpick, because I am like a nitpicky person, but at the bottom of the phone, the charging port is not quite aligned in the middle of the frame. It's slightly towards the back of the phone more, and that just bothers me. Because when you plug in a charging cable, the phone is then slightly raised up off the table. Like, Samsung definitely could have put a little bit more effort just to fine tune and polish this phone a little bit more. And I know it is a cut down version, but it's still not a budget device. It is only a fraction cheaper than the standard S24. In terms of the glass, you're getting Corning Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. And something super nice to see is this phone is still IP68 water and dust resistant. In terms of the display, this has a 6.7 inch screen, so it's actually more comparable with the S24 Plus rather than just the standard S24, so this is a very large phone. The screen maxes out at 1900 nits of brightness, which is actually pretty decent. Even the iPhone is at 2000, so considering this is a mid-range phone, I would say slightly more than that. This is pretty good level of brightness. And of course, you have 120 Hz because what phone doesn't have that in 2024? Right. But I'd say the main thing I dislike about the display is not the display itself, it's more the bezels on the phone. You don't have uniform bezels like on a lot of flagships nowadays, and you actually have a chin at the bottom of the screen. So it is slightly thicker towards that bottom edge than every other side, and I personally feel like it's noticeable. And in terms of screen to body ratio, it is 88%. So yeah, overall, it is a decent display to look at. You got super vibrant colors, it's very sharp, good viewing angles, not amazing. And something to note is the screen is not LTPO, so the minimum refresh rate is 60 Hz. This year, I am a really big fan of the colors. Personally, I feel like the graphite is one of my favorites. Mint is also super nice. But this phone is a breeze to use. It definitely doesn't feel like a cheaper device or a cut down version of the S24 when you're actually scrolling around, playing games, multitasking. It handles everything really well. The processor inside of here is the Exynos 2400 chip paired with 8 GB of RAM. Samsung also included a larger vapor chamber to combat overheating of the phone because some people in like warmer climates in the past have complained to me about previous FE devices as well as the Google Pixel devices. A lot of phones nowadays tend to be overheating, and I think that's just because of how much we're trying to push them in terms of power and performance. And also a lot of apps nowadays are super demanding, so even when playing games, sometimes the phone can get fairly warm, although it is noticeably better than past generations. But I played some COD Mobile on this device. I maxed out the resolution, the frame rate, all the high quality settings were turned on, and performance was great. Battery life was also really good. It's got a 4700 mAh cell, and it's been giving me about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time. I'm an absolute power user, so I like to have the brightness to maximum, the screen resolution to maximum. I use my camera a lot, play a lot of games, and so yeah, I'm like a power hungry user. And so you might get a little bit more than I do, but 6 to 7 hours is what I've been getting roughly over the past few weeks. In terms of charging up the phone, there is only 25 watt charging, so not as fast as the flagships, but it still does the job. Honestly, I'm only charging my phone at night anyway, so I'm not too bothered. One of the main hot topics when it comes to Samsung phones is the camera. We all know the S24 series and S24 Ultra has some of the best camera quality out of any smartphone right now. And when it comes to the FE, you definitely are taking a hit in terms of the resolution as well as some of the features. There's no laser autofocus, And you're really limited in terms of the maximum zoom you're able to get out the camera. So there is only 3 times optical, and then everything after that is purely just digital crop with AI enhancement. Although I must say, it still does do a pretty good job. Let's break down the camera system. So we have a 50 megapixel primary sensor, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide, and an 8 megapixel telephoto with that 3 times zoom. That's the one I was just talking about. On the front, we have a 10 megapixel selfie camera. Definitely does the job. Colors aren't amazing and it's overall kind of flat and over-processed in my opinion, but again, it's good enough for just sending selfies as well as video calls, things like that. The good news is there's absolutely no shutter lag when you're taking photos. So I went full out just spamming the camera button, and this is one of the fastest phones with no shutter lag that I've ever seen. Something crazy is you can also shoot 8K video at 30 FPS and 4K at 60. So that is pretty good in terms of, even flagship standards in 2024, but it's not always about the resolution. Video quality is just slightly over-processed and over-sharpened for me, and I just prefer a more natural look because I'm a content creator and I edit content a lot, and I just like to work with something that's just a little bit less so that I can do my own thing to it. But yeah, all the photos I took out this looked really beautiful. I even took some low light photos and they came out great. But I love the color science out of this camera. Like on the main sensor, if you're just snapping away in broad daylight, colors are beautiful, dynamic range is great. And overall, you're not going to be disappointed with this camera. It is straight up amazing. And if you import some of these photos into Lightroom, you can easily slap on a preset, color grade, and it's almost undistinguishable whether this came from a phone or a camera. So hardware-wise, Samsung has definitely cut some corners, but not too much. It's a little bit better than some of the past generation FE phones that I've seen, and I've not tried every single one. I think the last one I tried was the S24FE. But yeah, so far I have been really impressed. Even just the feel in the hand, this thing does feel really premium. And software-wise, this phone is exactly the same as all of the others. So you're not lacking in any of those departments, including the new Galaxy AI features. So you still have things like circle to search, drawing assistant, live translation. All of those Galaxy AI features are still there for you to use if you want to. I personally feel like I just don't use them too much, but I guess the option is better there than not. Honestly, I've never been a fan of just the Samsung skin in general. Just One UI as a whole is not to my taste, and so I swapped out the Samsung keyboard for Gboard, and I tried to add more Google things rather than Samsung things. Because most of my accounts with Google sync across between devices, and it's just super convenient when I am changing device so I don't have to resync everything and lose data because it's on my Samsung account. But in terms of price point, you're looking at $650 USD. For my viewers in Canada, that is $919 Canadian and 650 pounds if you're in the UK. So it's not exactly a cheap device, but Samsung do offer a lot of promotions at launch. So, if you go on their website, you might get a good deal. You might get some free buds or some free accessories included, as well as them bumping up the storage for free. But if you're considering the 256 version and there is no deal, the standard S24 is actually just a little bit more. And I know you are getting a slightly smaller screen, but you are just getting a better experience overall. So it's just something to keep in mind. So overall, to summarize, what you're getting here is basically an S24 Plus Lite. I feel like that would have been a better name than Fan Edition. It makes some smart compromises while keeping core features intact, and it's a solid choice if you want a larger phone without the flagship pricing, and if you care about software and those new AI features and some of the best cameras in the game, then this is a no-brainer. This is definitely something you should go for. But as time goes on, and as the S25 comes out in January 2025, prices are going to drop of the S24. So it's something to keep an eye on. So my advice would be look around. Let me know what you guys think of the S24FE. Would you pick it up, or are you going to wait for the S25, pick up the S24 slightly cheaper? Or are you not a Samsung fan? Are you going for the Pixel, the iPhone? Who knows? Sometimes I like to just watch these videos and look around just to kind of see what a phone has to offer. But yeah, so far I have been impressed, and if you can get a good deal, this is definitely a solid phone for 2024 and 2025. So yeah, I will see you guys later. Peace.